This is Mesquite Citizen Journal, Barbara Elistad, and we are with Councilman Al Littman today. You are my fourth interview, so
That's fine.
yeah, you gotta keep it interesting and lively.
Okay,
I'm running out.
Very best.
We appreciate your time with us today, though, to talk about the first year you've been on the city council. You have one more year to go. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. But tell us what you think your biggest accomplishment has been, either as an individual or as a member of the council in the first year.
Well, as an individual, probably not a tremendous amount because it's a team effort up there. I've been asked to do certain things and I followed through on them, and I jotted down a few of them that
Okay.
through the course of the year
Yeah.
I got involved with, sometimes purposely, sometimes almost accidentally. The first thing I was approached with is, what can you do about the issue of the Boy Scouts not being able to solicit in town? And I think I was pretty influential in getting that ordinance change done.
Yes, you were.
And it's paying off. The Scouts last year had their best collection year, I think, ever. Another item that I got involved with, just through listening what was going on, and as you come into situations that already exist, and that was the issues with NCS and getting something to occur, either one way or another, and we did get something to occur. Again, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
And I hope people understand that no one individual up there is running that council. It's a democratic situation, and you need the votes. And although we don't run around lobbying one another for votes, I think we all vote the way we feel we ought to vote.
Yeah. You're not the first one to say that.
Okay.
That's pretty encouraging, I think.
Another item that I looked at very recently, and then I'll skip back to a couple other ones, is the cemetery issue for Mesquite. Several vets approached me almost immediately when I got elected and said, we don't have a place for veterans here in town. I said, well, yeah, there's veterans buried at the Mesquite Cemetery. Yeah, but there's nothing really dedicated to them, and they'd like to see something like that. So I did sit down with the city clerk and found out that we're down to just a little over 200 spaces remaining up there out of the several thousand that were dedicated originally. And right now they're going through an inventory up there and an audit to see exactly what we've got. And I'm making a big push towards a cemetery with a veterans section in it. A lot of our older vets, and it's the topic that no one wants to talk about, really,
Yeah.
but it rolls around nonetheless. A lot of the vets have told me, I'm going to be gone before my wife or my family, and I don't want them to have to drive all the way to Boulder City. And why can't I be interred in a cemetery here with a section dedicated to the veterans? So I'm working on that right now.
Well, that's good to
hear. And it's going to happen.
Good.
And I'll stay on it until it does happen. So that's one of the items. Another item that I got involved with, and at first I thought, this is no big deal, and that was the shared use pathway.
Right.
And then you start to get into it a little bit more, and you realize that it is a big deal, especially for people that are impacted by it. And, for those that followed this, there are a number of issues involved there, and basically the city saying one thing and the residents saying another thing, and then the statute saying another thing, and we were able to get together and change it.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be a very positive change.
And I think you came up with the alternative area.
I walked it, I drove it, and I measured it with the tape measure, and I said, you know what, we can do a better job elsewhere. And it's going to happen. It's in progress now.
Right.
And I think that's an important thing to me. Another item that I spent quite a bit of time researching, although I don't have any direct impact on it, is the privatization of the economic development department in this city.
We're going to talk a little bit about that some more.
So we can save that.
Yeah,
That's
so
not a
if you
problem.
could, go ahead.
And the last issue, well, there's several other issues. One of them, and I did get together with some pilots up at the airport, and they approached me only because they're neighbors of mine. to get that airport spruced up, get some airport improvements. That airport is a great revenue source if it was played correctly. As far as fuel sales go, they're having a lot of problems up there with a broken down fuel truck. There's no AWAS system, and speaking with the mayor, it looks like we're going to have one in the very near future.
Yeah, that's that was on the agenda 7 or 8 months ago, or
Yeah, and it you know,
so.
somebody asked me, what's going on? What's going on? You know, well, the answer is it's government. And it's going to go a little bit slow. We're working in this case with FAA on these issues, and it's not going to happen overnight, but I think it's going to occur, and we'll have an improved airport, which again will bring in more revenue to the city and put us a little more on the map.
Good.
For a number of people and there's some other issues up there that I'd still like to see occur that eventually will work out, and one of those is to have some sort of a rent a vehicle. And I didn't say rent a car, but rent a vehicle, and it could be an electric vehicle or something, because there are people that fly in and they're kind of caught up there.
Right.
It's like, hey, we'd like to go into town, we'd like to shoot a little golf, and then we'd like to go out to eat or something. We got to call taxi cabs because there's no rent-a-car service here. So that's something we're looking at, and I think that'll occur in the near future.
And I know the BLM is expanding their operations there.
Yes, and we need to expand our runway, and I think we can do that. It'll go into Arizona, but we're already into Arizona to some degree. So it'll take a little cooperative effort, and I think we'll achieve that. So that's one of the issues that I've been working on. What else? Let's see. Economic development, shared use pathway, vet issues, of course. The tent.
And we're going to talk
And
about
we'll
that.
talk about that.
Okay, don't take all my questions.
I won't take your questions away from me. So, that in the first year, it's been quite a bit.
Well, you guys have been very busy in the first year.
Yeah, and then there's a number of other items that are litigation type items that really can't sit down and talk about because of the nature of them at this time, and that's taking place. So it's a busy council.
It is. Is your first year more or less than what you expected? Has there been more surprises than you were expecting?
No, I don't think there has been.
Okay.
I love the challenges that come about. I think I would not want to be on a council that came in and rubber stamped a couple of items and went home. That would,
Yeah.
That's not.
You
what I
guys
was looking
don't
for.
do that.
We don't do that. No. We hash them out, and sometimes people say, well, what's wrong with those guys? They don't make a decision on something. But you know what? It's better sometimes to step back and reevaluate a situation than jump in with 2 feet and say later, oops, and then have to politely back out of it. So I think we're going about in the right direction. And
what is your biggest disappointment in your first year? What did you want either yourself to accomplish or the council to accomplish that didn't happen?
I can't say that there's anything that's been a disappointment. I think things are falling into place nicely. I do understand the workings of government, and I don't get impatient because it didn't happen yesterday. Again, I'd like to see things go correctly so that either us as a council or some future council down the line doesn't have to go back and say, you know what, we got to clean up those guys' mess because they acted too quickly or they acted without the information they needed, and now we're stuck with the problem. I don't want to see repeats of that if possible.
Okay. Let's talk about money. The one question I forgot to ask during budget hearings, and a couple of you guys can't imagine I forgot to ask a question, but the 3 union groups all got pay raises this year. Fire got it last year, but it was effective for this year also. Last year, management personnel in City Hall took a 5% pay cut. Much of that was through car allowances.
Car allowances, correct.
There hasn't been any talk so far about restoring some of that pay cut for the management personnel. Do you foresee that happening, any kind of pay adjustments for that group?
I would like to see it happen. And the reason I'd like to see it happen is even though we know it's a tough economy, in Nevada particularly, when you've got really good management people, they're always looking. They're always looking. Either a better job or better location, higher pay, more responsibilities. And it's not easy to train good people. So it's, over a couple of dollars sometimes you can lose somebody that you don't want to lose. And then you've got to train, and we can't sit there and individually negotiate salaries. So that's a bit of a hindrance. So yes, we've got to be competitive. And I know, you hear the argument constantly, city employees are overpaid. But a lot of the people that make those statements are making more than the city employees are making.
I wouldn't be one of them.
And I have that in public education. Look how much the teachers are making. I can recall back, and this is going back 40 years ago, when I was making $600 a month gross pay, and people were talking to me about it, and they were making 5 times that a month then. And I thought, okay, yeah, you got to be competitive out there. You can't put your head in the sand and say, they're making too much money now. Let's cut them some more or something. Next thing you know, they're gone. And then we're starting from scratch.
Okay. The C-tax issue is coming up.
Yep.
It's a very convoluted formula that the state uses now, but it comprises 45 or 44% of our budget.
That's right.
Of our incoming revenue. Does that make you nervous that the state legislature is going to probably rework that formula?
Yeah, it makes me very nervous because I don't know who's lobbying to get more for their unit than us and so forth. And I think everybody wants to get a piece of that pie and a larger piece as possible. I don't blame them. We're in the same situation. And I'm not sure what the outcome's going to be. I tried to study some of that formula. I didn't understand it, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure anybody does.
No, and I'm not sure that they do themselves. So I'm sure there's some personal interests involved, and it does scare me.
Because if the other night at council meeting when they were talking about when the council was talking about the right-of-way fee, reducing it, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Debbie Cardenas, the city finance director, said we stand to lose $1 million from that C-tax in a year.
That is correct. Anywhere from 0 to $1 million, and who knows, somewhere in between. It's undecided at this point. So, yeah, I sort of like to know what the funds are going to be before we spend the funds, so we don't end up like some of our other communities around the country. Today in USA Today, it said there may be a number of other California cities that even if they don't declare bankruptcy, may just fade away. They'll be absorbed somewhere else because they spent money that they didn't have.
And, you took a $2 million deficit last year and turned it into a balanced budget this year.
It can be done. But can it be done forever? Probably not. So yeah, we have to be very prudent in what we're doing, and it's almost like a high wire act. You've got to do a lot of balancing, and if you don't balance yourself quite right, what happens? You fall off.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to get back up.